Welcome back to Dynasty Football Maniacs. Good God, I'm having an afternoon here. Whew. Might be all that crazy football and all the IRs and everything else. So, in most fantasy leagues right now, is week coming on week 14. That means that's usually your last week to play before your playoffs set up. Some might go into week 15. The other leagues that'll be going past that are like your elimination leagues. So they're still playing past week 14, but most of your dynasty leagues are wrapping it up week 14 and then the playoffs roll in. So with that excitement going on in most of our leagues and all of our leagues actually, they all end on week 14. So
Hmm.
you made it, you made it. If you didn't, some are still trying to claw their way in for week 14. So it's definitely interesting.
Absolutely.
But what's crazy about week 14 being the final week of the playoffs, there is six teams on bye. So you have the Broncos, the Colts, the Patriots, the Commanders, the Ravens, the Texans. Now that killed a lot of my teams for week 14. So if I was trying to even fight for a spot in six, I'm not going to get it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because my week is going to be shot in a lot of leagues because I'm very heavy on Texan. I was very heavy on some of the commanders that came out. I do have a little bit of Broncos. Actually, I have one league. I got Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels. So I
Mm.
got I got Derek Carr. He'll survive. But still.
He's a good substitute.
Oh, Aiden Connell came off a IR. He did play a little bit. Maybe he'll jump in there and play a little bit more and get some points from him. I'm not counting on that, but
Mm.
it could. You never know. So this last week was your week. I mean, they had their up and downs. Uh, yeah, nothing really stood out that big. I mean, game wise, there was that little excitement about the Texan and the Jags. You had that guy hitting Trevor Lawrence while he was down, but I don't think he meant to do it. Even though they're going to suspend him, I think that it's coming out. They're going to suspend him for a couple games for that.
Well, yeah, they can't. He's getting suspended for 3 games, but I mean, this isn't his first offense of doing stuff like this. He's done
Eh,
did it. He's done did it several times beforehand. So
yeah. So out of all the quarterbacks last week, I've been waiting to ask you this question all day
okay,
without even looking, which I
okay.
think you already looked. Who
I
is the
doubt it.
top quarterback for week 13?
Was it Jameis Winston?
Oh, yeah, it was.
Ah, okay. I just guessed it because of that humongous game he had last night.
Yes. And the best offensive player for week 13 was Judy.
I
So,
figured. Yeah.
but he wasn't the top. An IDP player actually beat him out by, looked like about 4 points. And that was Williams for Seattle. So,
Oh,
what was
man, with that pick six running that many yards, I mean, I could kind of see that.
Yeah, and then Zaire Franklin was number three, and then number four was Winston, and then another defensive player falls in five, Wilson, and then another defensive player. So this week was a defensive scoring week because you got T.J. Watt up there, you got McMillan up there, you have. Usually, I've not seen this in a while, so that's kind of neat to see that the defensive IDPs kicked in on week 13. So they were giving some love.
Hmm.
Um, But that's for week 13. Overall, your top 10 is who it's been. I mean, Lamar Jackson, number one. Barkley, number two. Jamar Chase, number three. Jaden Daniels, number four. Number five, Joe Burrow. Number six, Jalen Hurts. Number seven, Josh Allen. Number eight, Derrick Henry. Number nine, Baker Mayfield. And number 10, Alvin Kamara was able to stay in the top 10 for the entire season. He fought and he just stayed right there. Now, he was number three for most of the season, but Now he's 10.
Hmm.
And then Bo Nix comes out at 11. And I'm telling you right now, I'm glad I didn't give up on him as quick as I gave up on CJ Stroud. I almost did, but I
I
didn't.
thought you dropped Bo Nix in one
I
league.
did, but I was able to pick him back up off the waiver. No one grabbed him.
Oh, that must have been in a league I'm not in because I would have snagged him instantly.
Thank God you weren't in that league. I would have lost out on that bad boy.
Well, good job.
Yeah, well, I had him in 2 or 3 leagues, and it was only one league I got pissed off and dropped him. And then
Hmm.
the other leagues, I was thinking about dropping them, but since they were dynasties, I was like, I'll stash them in the back and see what happens.
Right.
But yeah, that's how that all played out. So yeah, I was looking at this, and I mean, what amazed me is isn't Russell Wilson the starting quarterback for Pittsburgh?
Yes, he is.
Okay, so I'm confused. All right,
Why
so
of how great he's playing?
are we really going to say that right now?
We are because it's true.
Okay, okay,
Just
okay,
saying.
okay. So do you
I
think
know where
he?
you're going with this, and I'm just gonna go ahead and squash the beef right now.
All right, so you think he? How far do you think he? Do you think he outscored Justin Fields yet?
Of course he is.
No, he didn't.
I don't see how with the performance that he did last week.
Yeah. So total scores up to week 13 in the PPR league is 106 for him. Fantasy points. That's averaging 8.21. Justin Fields has 119.3.
Really? What are you looking at for that?
See, I pull for multiple sites. I just don't pull for one. So I look at make sure they all match up.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. No, what it is mine. I reset it the league,
Uh huh.
and now Justin Fields is pulling 119.
All right. So let's get back on track here so I can get to my point. Got me.
Even
I know
even
I know, but just hear me out. So I mean, I
here we go with a
understand.
Justin Fields rant.
No, I'm not saying a Justin Fields ran. I'm just saying neither quarterback is worth a damn. It doesn't seem like they're giving either one of them a shot.
Even though Justin Fields or Russell Wilson just threw for 414 yards this past game.
One game. He threw for 400 yards last year with the Broncos, and he
When
threw
was
away
the
a lot of
last time
games.
Justin Fields threw over 400 yards?
He's not a thrower. He's a rusher.
Okay,
When's
then.
when's Lamar Jackson throw 400? I mean, normally he throws 200 to 300. Most of it's rush. I mean, he's a different type of quarterback. You can't compare them by stat. You got to. They're different comparisons.
Well, I mean, that's the reason why he's starting, though, because he can actually throw the ball instead of just run all the time.
I think he's starting for other reasons, but whatever.
If you say so.
I mean, they don't have to. They don't have to give away that fourth pick now. They have to. They go to the subsidiary pick. The other pick is what they're giving away due to the fact that he didn't play enough games. So Pittsburgh come out on better on that at the end of the day. And I think Pittsburgh was planning that anyways. They didn't want to give away that pick. But right now, what I was getting to was I thought that was interesting because what I was looking for is the top scorers from each team. Who was really impacting fantasy this year? And the biggest impact for Pittsburgh is TJ Watts, hands down, defensive guy. Next guy in line is Najee Harris. The quarterbacks are not your number one guys on the team. That's all I was pointing out. But I just did think it was interesting that Russell Wilson, I thought, has come in early enough to already surpass Justin Fields. Yes, he's almost there. He'll probably do it in the next 2 games, but it took him this long. I mean, Justin Fields only had 4 games. So, with that being said,
Justin, did he really?
yeah.
I thought
So,
it was more.
no, he has a lot of rushing yards, so that helps. Uh, so when you go to that, uh, Arizona, I was kind of shocked. I wasn't shocked. Why am I even saying that? Hit me in the
Oh,
head.
Justin Fields actually played 6 games before Russell took over.
6. Okay.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it was week
they're even.
6 when he ended.
Yeah, so they're even. And Justin Fields is ahead, is all I was pointing out. But that wasn't what my point. It wasn't a Justin Fields rant. I was basically thought it was an interesting note because I was going to name off the top players from each team. What I thought was fascinating about Pittsburgh is the defensive back and the running back is dominated that whole. That's probably one of the few teams we'll see in the NFL out of 32 teams we go through that it's a defensive end that's scoring the highest for fantasy. So moving on to go to Arizona, and I just wanted to do Pittsburgh first because I just thought that was an interesting note that they're still so even. So next year, who knows what the two quarterbacks are going to do? Who knows what Pittsburgh's going to do? They both have a 1 year contract. Who knows what happens next year? Next year is a whole new slate. So off seasons, we're going to hear bunches of rumors and a bunch of things are going on. It'll be a big question mark again. But I'm sure you're not going to see Pittsburgh with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson next year. Or do you disagree?
No, I don't. It's gonna be one of the two, but I don't really see him being both.
I'd be shocked if it's even them two. I mean, who
It
knows what
will.
they do in the draft?
It, if Russell Wilson keeps playing, even if they do draft somebody, I don't. Mike Tomlin, he's a pretty smart guy, so he's gonna know what He's gonna want.
Right. So yeah, today's episode, I was just wanting to say who did really good. The one thing I did notice, like since we're still on the Pittsburgh thing, real quick, out of the players that are listed for scoring fantasy, 12 of them made it in the top 250. And like I said, the top scorer was TJ Watts. Next in line was Najee Harris. And then from there, it's their wide receiver, George Pickens, and then their kicker, Chris Boswell. Yes, their kicker has more scoring points than both of the quarterbacks. Saying, wow. Okay, I'm done with that rant. Let's get on it. I think I hit a raw nerve. Everybody thought I was going Justin Fields. I wasn't. But okay, here we go. Arizona. And this is what I was saying. It was so odd when I went through this. I was like, I was picturing every team, quarterback or running back. That was the only ones I thought would lead. I didn't think I'd find a team that had a defensive player lead. Just shocked me. Kyle Murray, Arizona. Who he's the quarterback. I mean, and the next guy in line is your IDP guy, Bubba Baker, but Bubba Baker has been doing very good as a defensive back. So an IDP is doing great. The guys behind them is the guy that you knew would do well as a tight end, Trey McBride, and then you also have James Conner ahead of him slightly. Um, yes, Marvin Harris in the hundreds, and yes, he's the fifth top scorer on that team. So he is the number one wide receiver. Uh, at the end of the day, the rest of the players are just defensive players. One other wide receiver, Michael Wilson, and the defense itself, Arizona Cardinals, are all in the top 50, 250. So the only players I'm going to name are in the top 250 for scoring. I didn't think I'd see anything different. So when I go to Atlanta, that was the other one that threw me off. But then you remember what I said earlier. It's going to be a running back or a quarterback, which I just probably gave it away. So that was stupid of me because I was going to ask you a trick question. So I probably gave you the answer. So I'm in Atlanta. Who do you think is the highest scorer? And I want you to really think about that.
Well, I got two players in mind, but I'm gonna go ahead and say is it Bijan?
Hands down, Bijan.
That's what I thought.
He is almost averaging 20 points a game. He is ranked 12th overall scoring, so that means he's in the top 20. Right
Mm.
behind him was a shocker because I did not. That was kind of blindsided because I've never thought of Drake London like that. I've really always thought he was good, but not that good where he would outscore the quarterback. But there he is. He's slightly ahead of the quarterback, but not much. Then Kirk Cousins, and another one that shocked me to be even in the top 100. They have five players in the top 100, just in the top 100. That's impressive. And then the next guy is an IDP guy. And then their kickers, he's like 200, which he's always good. And Kyle Pitts, 210. But yeah, they got a couple. They got a total of 9 players in the top 250. So that's pretty impressive, I think, for a team. So let's move on to another alphabetical order. This is so easy. I don't even know why I'm even bringing this team up. This has too many top scorers in it. I think they should just end their career right now. Baltimore. And can't can't. I mean, that's just it, man. I mean, Lamar's the number one scorer. Then you got Derrick Henry. Zay Flowers is next, and then your defensive player rolls in there at number 4, Raquan Smith. They have a total of 13 players in the top 100, 250. I mean, that's crazy. Running backs, tight ends, wide receivers. I mean, just multiple ones. I mean, 2 of their tight ends are in the top 250. 3 of their running backs are in the 200 and top 50. I mean, how is that possible? I mean, that is just like Justin Hill. I mean, would you think he would be scoring an average? Well, he's scoring only an average of 8 points a game, but that's pretty impressive over a week of 13 weeks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's as good as what Russell Wilson's doing. Seriously, right now, if you compare the PPR, he's in the line of Russell Wilson. But that's going to change. Like you said, Russell Wilson had that big game last week. He did do over 400 yards. He did score high points. We still have week 14. Then you got 15, 16, 17. I mean, there's still a lot of time in football season for them points to go up. But for like a regular fantasy football season, postseason, this is what it looks like. So, but in the next one, is Buffalo, and that's like a shocker, not a shocker. I mean, it's Josh Allen and James Cook. They run the show. I mean, what else to say? I mean, and overall, their defense is ranked 200, and most of all the other players that are in the group are defensive players, outside offensive players. There's 11 of them. I mean, oh, Kyle Shakir, he's offensive. He was ranked number
Oh,
4th.
yeah.
So really, you got 1, 2, and Amari Cooper. So yeah, 4 players out of that 11 are offensive. The rest is defense. Just out of 2, and they're all scored in the top 250.
Hmm.
So that's pretty impressive. And then numbers go down when you hit the next team.
I would
Carolina,
imagine so.
yeah. But I could sit here and go all night on the stats. But I just thought that was interesting about the Pittsburgh thing. I ain't gonna stay on the stats all night because you're probably like, no, let's talk about football coming up. We got to get the fantasies out. But I was just letting people know that most of your teams, your number one player on this thing on the running is either going to be the running back or the quarterback. The only teams that I've seen different was Pittsburgh. I've yet to find a wide receiver leading the team. Um, I think Cincinnati was the only one that had a wide receiver, Jamar Chase, a little bit better than Joe Burrow, but
Hmm.
but that's interesting stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm all about the statistics. I wish there was a way we could put this on our site so people could see it, but X page won't let me do it. They made me do photographs unless I get a professional page and I got to pay for it, and then I could do all that other fun stuff.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, no, but I just wanted to bring that up. I wasn't trying to get on a Justin Fields rant. I was just saying it was just an interesting take because one, I didn't expect to find a defensive player ranked the highest, and that was the one team I did find that on. So I thought that was impressive. But the overall, your top, like I said, your top 10, I named them off earlier, and then your lowest 250 scorer that I have on the list is PJ Locke for Denver, and he's a defensive player. So and his average points is 6 points a game. So that's a lot of players in between that 250 to. Another interesting thing I've seen out of this is when I was doing this is Aaron Rodgers is still in the top 50. Trevor Lawrence is not. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, Trevor Lawrence has been hurt,
Yes, he has. He's been suffering injuries.
and then now he got knocked out again. So,
Yeah. And Nico Collins, he's back, so he's slowly climbing back up, trying to claw back in. He's kind of tied with George Pickens and Daryl Mooney right now in the 75 world. So they're finally them three are climbing back to their status, but I don't think they'll get to the end of the season and just they blow out. Bucky Irving was doing really well until that injury. Is he going to be able to play, or is it still questionable? That'd be something to be interesting. I think they got a bye this week, so he don't even go roll.
Yeah, well, they got a bias, I think, so it ain't gonna really. It should be healed up before they play again.
Threw me off track, so I closed all my stuff out. Here we go. It's all right. That's what.
Actually, they're not on a bye.
Nope, they're not. I just see
They're
that now.
playing Las Vegas.
Oh, bless their hearts. That should be a good game for them then. He gets to play. So let's cover next week.
Let's
You want
do
to?
it.
Let's do it. So Thursday's game is Green Bay against Detroit. Okay,
That's gonna be a good game.
it is going to be a good game, and I'm going to be not gutsy on this. I'm going to go ahead and take. I'm going to go with Detroit. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a close game, but I think Detroit will end up doing pretty well. Um, there was only one questionable, I believe, and that's Jacobs, but I believe he is going to play. He was limited again on Thursday, so he's practicing. So there's a good pause. I'd say if he's practicing, unless something happens in practice, he'll probably play. But if you're like a
I
sleep,
I think he'll play because I don't know if you noticed, but like Tuesday and Wednesday, he's always got a questionable on him throughout the year. But I think it's just more of a minor maintenance thing just to keep him fresh.
that's interesting. I never paid attention to that. Hmm.
Yeah, I kind of just there's certain players that I look at almost every week, depending, especially when we're hitting the trade deadline. That's when I really paid attention to it, and I noticed that about him because I was like, oh man, I don't know if I want to trade for him if he was always gonna like be hurt or whatever. But heck, every time they had a questionable on it, he has always played. So it just seems
Right.
like another just a routine maintenance thing, just to keep him fresh throughout the year.
So we are definitely going to go with them,
Hmm.
Detroit. Then Sunday games start. Oh my God.
Oh,
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 let's start with the Jets, the Miami Dolphins, and I almost said Hurricanes. Woo. That was going to be messed up.
yeah, you're in a different league, brother.
But I know that was college there. I was like, oh, I know Dolphins. Uh, so when I look at this, let's just go back to this real quick. The feeds. Uh, nope. Stats. There we go. Oh, boy. Almost messed up. So Sauce Gardner, he's been playing that questionable all year. So I mean, and that's what I have him on some teams, and when he does play, it does help sometimes. But then there's this big issue that he plays. I get a big fat zero. It kind of drives me nuts. But that is the thing that I have to deal with. Um, Barnes, he's still on IR. That's probably one of the biggest defensive players for the Jets, I think, scoring in fantasy. He does very well, but his ankles um, kind of cost him out. Lazard, he's still on IR for chest. They got a lot of IRs for the Jets. It just lists on and on. And going over to the Dolphins, Barros is still on IR, but eh, he's not a really impact player. Maybe for punt return, if you got bonuses and stuff like that, that's a positive. But and then not really too many questionables. The fantasy side looks like a pretty good projection for A Chain, which he's been pretty much leading the back over Morset.
Hmm.
And Jalen Wright, he's been getting sprinkled in there off and on, but not as much as I'd like to see him. But then I also understand A Chain's been a very good running back since he's come out. So I mean, it's kind of hard to throw Jalen right on top of that. You know what I mean?
I think next year it's going to be Devon Achan and Jalen Wright,
I
and
I
I think they're going to both run the backfield, and they're just going to let
Raheem
Raheem
go.
Mostert go.
I kind of sense that too, and I was going to kind of talk to you about that because I was thinking, it's time for them to seal that deal, let that one go because it's just the way they've been running the ball.
Hmm.
Um, I I can't pick the Jets.
Well, surprisingly, I'm going to because of what I saw from the Dolphins last week. It was very atrocious. And the Jets, and the only bright thing they have going for them is that defense. So I'm actually going to go with the Jets on this one.
You're gonna go with the Jets.
Yeah, because even if you look at it, you know, Tyreek Hill has been basically non-existent. They have basically thrown the ball to mostly uh Johnny Smith.
I guess I could see what you're saying. I could see that chance of that being
I
an
mean,
up.
I that offense just doesn't look the same to me, so that's the reason why I'm going
Was
with
it?
the Jets because only their defense they don't have. If Aaron Rodgers just decides to throw interceptions again and basically give the game away, then that is not my fault.
Well, no, it wouldn't have been Tom Brady curse. That would be an Aaron Rodgers. I thought that was an Aaron Rodgers curse. He goes to Florida. Florida teams beat him. But
No, it's Tom Brady.
Tom Brady played at Tampa, Florida.
Still in Florida though.
Yeah. But oh, is when he went and played Tom Brady is when he lost.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's Tom Brady. Yeah, you're going to lose to that man. I mean, the only guy that ever owned Tom Brady was Eli Manning. He let you know that he owned him. So
He always does,
I would too if I beat the man twice and never lost to him. Hey, I'm your daddy. I mean,
especially in the Super Bowl games.
yeah, I know that matters. All right, so okay, we got our picks. Um, next one is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Kirk Cousins is going to go in there and say, Vikings, this is what you missed out on.
Yeah, and hopefully he doesn't throw, five more interceptions either.
Yeah, he's getting a little touchy there, isn't he? He has
And
almost equivalent interceptions to touchdowns. So he's thrown 17 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. That is not a good ratio.
and Minnesota has got got a pretty good defense on their side as well. So uh,
Yeah, and
I'm not playing with fire with this one. I'm gonna go with Minnesota.
you just told me where to not believe in, but all right, I'll let you go, Minnesota. I'll go Atlanta. This is the reason why we talk.
Well, good luck. All I can say.
Good luck. All right, so let me see if I can get this one right.
Uh,
Saints versus the Giants.
I'm going New Orleans on this one.
Oh, I'm definitely going New Orleans. That whole quarterback room. They went through. They went. God, Locke. I thought was going to be the guy, but then he couldn't control the ball. Now they're back to Vito, right? Or is Locke still the quarterback? I mean, oh,
Locks. No, well, no. I think Danny DeVito is. Well, no, he got hurt, so it was Drew Lock was playing. So it depends on if I guess Levito comes back or not.
oh, he's still listed as out, but he's only listed as out. He ain't listed IR. So, but he ain't questionable. So that's not good. Oh, yeah, that's not a good situation. Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. I'm gonna go with the Saints. Derek Carr's back. Things have been going decent. The next one, I'm gonna be just out on the limb, and I just think they're gonna do it. And this is gonna shock you, but Carolina against the Eagles.
No, that doesn't really shock me because I don't care what anybody says. I've I've been watching every game every week, and Bryce Young has been really improving. They're seeing him throw balls that I've never seen thrown that he wouldn't really throw in the beginning that he's actually thrown now. And honestly, he looks like he's just playing like, I just don't care at this point. I'm just gonna just do my stuff. But even with that, I'm still going with the Eagles.
I am too. I wasn't gonna pick the Carolina Panthers over the Eagles at this point. But you almost had me convinced you were. I was like, oh my God.
But
I was
no,
just joking, going this direction. And he's like giving me this spew here. I'm getting scared. I was like,
but no, but I mean, but I mean, you can tell by the way the team is playing. Like the past 2 weeks, they have been competitive.
I don't think Bryce Young's going to be at Carolina next year.
He will be. He will be. They were competitive this past 2 weeks, and he has really made improvement. And I say he will be because, well, I mean, he's still on contract for another 2 years. So
Well, there's so
I
many
don't,
trade rumors.
I don't. That's the reason why I don't look into all those rumors and stuff because until I see it, I will believe it.
I remember seeing them trade rumors about Mac Jones, and I didn't really ever think they'd trade Mac Jones, but it happened.
I say once again, I don't look into the rumors. I just wait and see if it happens or not.
Yeah, that's a good way of being. I like rumors. I like to spill them and turn them up. All right,
Yeah,
let,
you do.
let's go to this hot mess situation that's going to happen this weekend because there's going to be some hot messes going. And this is going to be a great hot mess because if you're not watching this game, then I don't know what you're doing on the weekend. I got to watch this game. I can't. There's no way I can avoid it. I mean, I would watch this game over any other game just to see it. And that is Cleveland Browns against the Steelers. It's always a good game. Jameis Winston, he has his fire moments, and then he doesn't have his fire moments. Now, his interceptions to touchdown ratio is just as bad as the other guy we talked about.
Oh, Kirk.
Yeah. So, but when he's on fire, he's on fire. When Winston is throwing,
He's
but he's not
Winston.
consistent.
Winston is like me when I'm playing Madden or college football. I can throw a lot of yards and I can throw 3 or 4 touchdowns, but I will also have at least 3 or 4 interceptions.
No, you're actually better than him. Just put that
When,
out there real quick.
oh well,
No, I'm not bragging on you. I'm just saying I know. You're if anything, Jamin Winston is more me. I throw 7 interceptions like he does, and I can throw 300 yards. So if we're doing comparison, you're more like a Kirk Cousin or a Derek Carr, and
no,
I'd even put you in a category of a Jalen Hurts, but
no,
I would
right,
never throw you that low to Jamin Winston.
no, right now. Well, well, I was going to categorize Hunter because he basically took your spot now.
Well, well, it's good to have someone below someone. You got to bring them up. So let's keep it that way.
Well, that is your job now. I have bestowed the torch to you.
All right. So out of that game, and let's stay on this game because we know Russell Wilson's going to start the game. Russell Wilson had a great game. I don't know if he'll have that great of a game against the Cleveland defense. Is pretty decent.
Najee had a really good game.
Yes, Najee did too. Now I'm looking at the team itself. I mean, there's a lot of questionable that they got a couple DBs out, uh, wide receivers, linebackers. I still think it's going to be a great game. I'm going to actually kind of lean towards. I'm just going to have to stick with the Steelers. I'm sorry, Browns. I've always worried for the Browns on this game. Majority of the time, I'm a Browns guy, but I just can't see the Browns beating the Steelers in this game. I just can't. And the defense is what's going to win that game. Pittsburgh has that powerful defense. Winston is going to have a hard time against that defense. Pass rush is just crazy.
Or or we could have another crazy game like they last time they played and
And the guy hits the
the
quarterback with the
defense for
helmet.
Cleveland and Jameis Winston beats the Steelers.
Um, I think it's a horrible thought, but okay. Uh,
I mean, you could say that if you want to, but I mean, you never thought they would beat them the last time because I know you didn't because you didn't pick them.
yeah, that's true.
But either way, I'm still going with the Steelers.
All right. So, do you think Vegas is making a turn here?
Nope, I'm going with the Buccaneers.
Wow, that was like what turn? Where did it come from?
Well, they're turning to get to the number one pick in the draft.
Yeah. So while we're on that, let's talk a little bit about fantasy scoring. Who was the number one fantasy tight end for week 13?
Oh, that's a good question.
I already know the answer.
Well, because you probably looked it up in order for me to ask, and for you to ask this
Oh,
question.
that is true. That is true. That is true. I did look it up.
Hang on.
Oh, I started snorting. Don't look it up. Just take a guess.
I'm not looking it up.
All right.
Do you see my eyes closed right now of me thinking?
I didn't even. Oh, yeah, your eyes are closed, or they could be squinting downwards, looking at a screen.
I promise I can't see anything. Can I have a hint?
He's a rookie.
A rookie. Oh gosh. A rookie tight end? Is it Brock Bowers?
Yes, it is. That's why I brought it up on this game.
Okay.
Now I should never clap. You don't know what I was doing underneath the desk either. Uh,
Oh,
but yeah.
I think we're good.
Hey, when he was playing for Georgia,
All
tell
right
you
now.
what.
All right
Uh,
now.
30. Wow. Yeah, he scored. Yeah, he was doing good last week. The next tight end behind him was Njoku from Cleveland. Figures Jamin Winston was blowing up. And then the guy right behind him is another favorite. This is this is a discussion me and Austin had during the off season about two tight ends. One that was a very still good tight end and still very active in the NFL, but at a different location now. But he's older, he tends to get injuries. I did not think Arizona would do that swap, but they did. And they did great because there's Trey McBride right at number 3. I mean, Trey McBride fell right in that slot. And once they seen the youth
Gosh.
and the ability,
I
they
wish I had
understood they had the skill set from Hurts, but they went ahead and got Hurts' value and sent him to the Commanders. Good deal.
I wish I had Trey McBride right now.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up. I thought that was an interesting little tidbit while we're talking about the fantasy thing. Uh, all right, so back to the picks. Okay, little distraction, but I thought that was it. The only reason I brought it up was because we're on the Vegas. So we are going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
Hmm.
and Baker's still on fire. He ain't completely fell out, but he's not like he has his moments and he doesn't have his moments. But I think anybody that can stay in the top 10 as a quarterback at the end of the day, you can't take that away from him. Can you? Can you take that away from him? I mean, you can't. Uh, sorry, you can't. But I know when the rankings come out next year, he will not be ranked in the top 10. They will probably put him overall, probably move him up from 100 like he is now, 113, whatever it is. And they'll
Remind
probably
me
move
who
him up to 80.
who are we talking about again?
Baker Mayfield.
I just wanted to clarify that just to make sure we're on the same page.
I just don't think, even though he scored top 10 so far this season,
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you if he is gonna stay in if he is gonna stay pretty relevant and you make it to the top 10 next year, they're gonna have to get another wide receiver.
oh, yeah, they have to. They don't.
They're gonna have to, whether it be free agency or you sign somebody in free agency and then you draft one. They're gonna have to revamp this wide receiving crew because I mean, as much as we like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they're both getting older
Yes.
and they're both, especially Mike Evans, he takes a lot of punishment because it's just his play style. And, he's been hurt this year too. And he just here a couple weeks ago, he just now came back. So they really need to add some more depth and get another alpha wide receiver.
And while we're talking about quarterbacks, I know it's a little bit offbeat real quick, but I wanted to point out something. During my stat research after week 13, I didn't really see this trend happening, but then after I got to looking at it, I was actually impressed. I don't know what they did to Lamar Jackson. If he just finally got to that maturity point, now he knows how to balance himself out. But if you don't know, he's second in yards passing for a quarterback. That's amazing because for a
Hmm.
rushing quarterback, that never usually happens.
No, he could.
Now, his
It's all
rushing yards are less than 1,000 this year, but it's still years young. He's a 678. He could still hit 1,000 probably, but he has hit 3,290 passing yards. The only one ahead of him is Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow don't rush. He's only rushed 160 yards. He's thrown 3,333 yards, 33.7 if you want to be exact. And then the other top quarterbacks that are ranked up above them, oh well, Baker Mayfield is the only other quarterback with over 3,000 passing yards, other than Geno Smith. But Geno Smith is ranked all the way down to 11, which does not make no sense.
well, I think a lot that has to do with Lamar's success in throwing so much now is offensive coordinator change. Remember a couple of years ago they had the offensive coordinator that went to the Chargers that is with the Chargers now, and he liked to run the ball a lot, and I
Yeah,
mean a lot. So he just used, Lamar through too, but he really used Lamar as another running weapon. But now you
right,
see him and his ability to actually throw it too, not only just run but throw it too, because the offensive coordinator wants to get the ball down the field more.
right. And see, that's something I just noticed about Geno Smith, and then the ones I was talking about, the other 3,000ers. Geno Smith, his only issue is not getting touchdowns.
Right.
Everybody
And
else is double that. So,
right. Let me point something out real quick because a lot of people, especially in Dynasty, some people, especially new players that come in and play, they may not realize this, but during the off season, it is extremely important for you to keep up with coaching changes.
oh yeah, coaching
It
changes
is
impact the players.
it is extremely important that you keep up with the offensive coordinator changes and defensive coordinator changes. It is important that you see who calls the plays, and who doesn't call the plays because like you said, it affects your players. It affects the scheme of the offense or defense, and you need to adjust to that accordingly. So I know some people are like, I'm off season. I'm just going to click off. If you're in Dynasty, you can't click off.
No, you
You
got to do your research. You got to do
you
your
already
homework.
have you already have too much on your plate anyways because you're going to be, right after the Super Bowl, even after our Super Bowl, after the fantasy Super Bowl, you're going to be watching the Super Bowl. But then after the Super Bowl, you're in off season mode because
Yep,
you got you got pro days, you got combines, you got East West Shrine Games, Senior Bowl. You've got to be constantly on alert. So it is extremely important to keep up with the college changes on coaching and offensive and defensive coordinators.
that is correct. I totally agree with you. So that's a good point that you brought out to these guys. So with that being said, I'm with Tampa. I'm sure you're with Tampa. Um,
Yep.
the next game, I'm gonna pick a person. I'm really tough on this. It's going to be a good matchup because both teams are like on the downside.
Bruh.
But I believe at the end of the day, let's see here. Where are they playing? That's well, it doesn't really matter where they're playing at. Uh,
They're playing in Tennessee.
yeah, I'm gonna have to give it to Tennessee.
Well, especially if
If Lawrence is out,
yeah, I'm going with Tennessee as well.
so he's listed out right now, and the current news on him is he remains in NFL concussion protocol. So if he's still in today, he's still in concussion protocol. Today is Tuesday.
If he's still in concussion protocol on Wednesday, I would
You would be
have
counting
a
him out.
backup plan.
Yeah, you need a backup plan because if he's out tomorrow, they're not going to flip that switch by Sunday and turn him on. I just that's a pretty serious hit. This isn't his first hit. He's had several hits like this, and he's not as bad as Tua situation, but there has been situations where you kind of question it. I mean,
Hmm.
but yeah, so that's yeah, I'm gonna lead on Tennessee on that game. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going Tennessee.
All right, let's go to the two birds again. It's not the good birds. These are birds that'll mess you up. Um, Arizona and Seattle. I will go ahead and I like Geno Smith and the crew. I also like Arizona. And Arizona's looking pretty good. Uh
They
Off and
do.
on.
I will say that Arizona plays really well at home.
Yes, they do. So there's a home game, and it is a 3 o'clock game at that. Ooh. Connor's been hot. Geno's been hot. I mean, they're all been good. The only difference is Geno can't get Geno's passing the yards, but the people he's giving the ball to are not scoring the touchdowns. So this is not like passing touchdowns. Or he's not getting it like other teams are. I'm gonna have to go with Arizona at the end of the day. I think Arizona's gonna win that game. They're the favorites to win the game.
I think the only way the Seattle wins the game is if Leonard Williams goes off again like he did against the Jets.
Good point.
So, but I'm still going with Arizona.
All right, so let's bring up the nice, interesting hot mess, and it's a sad hot mess because I think Christian McCaffrey is out again. I think
I
I've
think
seen
he's I think
officially IR
he's
now.
I think he's done for the year
Now
because
let me make
he
sure.
said he says it's going to be up to 6 weeks.
Oh yeah. He's out. I didn't even realize Mason was out too for Carolina,
You
San
know,
Francisco.
they literally put him on IR right after they put McCaffrey on IR. That is wild.
Well, he suffered a pretty serious sprained ankle too. If you're reading it, I mean that's then McCaffrey suffered a PCL injury to his knee in the first half. Mason took a larger offensive role. Okay, blah 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 blah. Yeah, he's out for sprained ankle. He is listed IR. He's listed out. Let's see what. But they don't have any projections for him to come back. Did not practice. Yeah, so he's out. One says he's out, and then you click on his thing. He says he's on IR. I'm confused. So, hey guys,
He's just out right now.
yeah, I think they're fixing to move him to IR because you click on his profile, it goes to IR. Normally that does happen. Um, uh, I mean, San Francisco's won without these guys.
Not much, not
Not
many.
not many, no. I didn't
I'm
try to.
sorry, but look, the Bears did the right thing, and got rid of Eberflus
Yes,
or however.
I think it was a little too soon, but okay.
Well, I mean, he's done had 2 or 3 weeks of poor management on time and stuff, so it was time for him to go. Without him there, I really think the Bears are gonna beat the super injured 49ers.
I think so too. I was kind of leaning towards the Bears, even though I don't want to pick them. I know in reality they're going to probably win that game. So I am taking the Bears. All right, so let's go to this other firehouse game. Uh, LA Rams against Buffalo. I think Superman's going to win his game.
Yeah,
It's
and
going to be
he's not playing in the snow either. So
no. You got Josh Allen and his sidekick James Cook. There you go. And if you want to count the kicker, because they're the only top three scoring offensive players. I'm sorry. Uh, um, yeah, so I'm going with Buffalo. Then you got the hardball against the Patrick Mahomes of the world. And yes, I call that whole team Patrick Mahomes now. That's what they are. That is the Mahomes land.
we call him Jesus.
No, bull, you don't go that far with it. He can
Well,
cook hamburgers.
I mean,
He makes miracles. That is true. I can't argue that.
but
Uh,
I mean, the refs act like he is. I mean, so
oh, The refs. Yeah, that's true. They do kind of baby him. It's like a glowing little halo and $5 exchanging every time they go past. I'm sure it's not $5. It's more like 5,000. It might be even more.
Every time they pass go, instead of collecting 200, it's like
These
collecting
guys are
two
driving
million.
around in Lamborghinis now. Why?
Yeah, definitely.
Uh, Lad McConkey got hurt. It's looking at the situation for him. It's questionable, but he did practice, so that's a good sign. He's working through a couple things. He remains to be seen. He will practice this week. He's dealing with a knee injury around his knee. Uncertain. They ain't naming what the issue is. I hate when they don't name. Well, I guess it's good they don't name because they're not sure. Maybe that's probably why they don't. Let's just say they don't
Or they don't
know.
want the other team knowing.
I honestly think a lot of times when they say stuff like that, they know more than what they're saying. But you're right; they don't want the other team to know, and some of it I think is just like because there's so much fantasy going on. They should be a little bit more transparent, closer to the game. But we're not close to the game either. We're Tuesday, so I should slow down.
Hmm.
You say put on the brakes. It's not there yet. Uh, I love Lad McConkey. I drafted him in a couple leagues. I was high on him through our rankings. We talked a lot about him. Yeah, I talked a lot about a Georgia guy. So what? I mean, he was a guy. He was a stud. He was doing his thing. I mean, there he is. I mean, he's doing great with the Chargers. I think he's found his home. I think Hardball has found him as a special use. Do I think the Chargers are going to beat the Mahomes group? I think it being at home in Arrowhead, no. How I dream it. But as soon as Taylor Swift shows up with her little posse and she waves her hand, the game's over, and Patrick Mahomes is free to run wherever he roams, and the Kansas Chiefs wins again. So there you go. Uh, that was not right at all. Um, I do like Taylor Swift's music, so just saying, get into that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, figures. Uh, let's see here. Bengals versus Cowboys. It sounded like I was in like a club. The Bengals on the Cowboys, Cowboys on the Bengals. What I was picturing is not what you want to know. It was a lot of caps and leather chaps. I
Mm,
mean, I don't know why. Yeah, we're not going to get into that.
yeah, let's not.
You got Joe Burrow's crew coming to town, or yeah, they're coming to town to Dallas. Dallas is a guy been dealing with a lot of issues. They have they have surprisingly have made some amazing plays and done amazing things during these trial and tribulations of losing their quarterback. And their running back room is, oh my God, please, who took the trash out? Who forgot to bring the guy? Uh,
Rico actually had a really good game last week.
yes, Rico did, and he was on my fantasy team. Thank you, man. But you still didn't win me the game. Uh, I'm not going to tell you who beat me.
Wait a minute. I
Uh,
think I know the answer.
let's not talk about it. All right, so I'm going to go with the Bengals. I'm going to like talk over him right now and say the Bengals. Uh,
Yeah, I'm going Bengals.
and I will say this much: I have been very impressed with Chase Brown's
Yeah,
takeover of the running back room. I
I
was
agree.
very newest nervous about holding on to him in my fantasy league, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, because you did in the past 4 weeks, you had an RB5, an RB9, an RB12, and an RB12.
I know, and he is total rank right now, and all. When I say rank total in PPR, I'm talking IDP, offense, the whole shebang. He is number 45, tied with
Oh,
Matthew
really?
Stanford, and I was choking on Matthew Stanford. Guys, God, that's a hard word to say. Ooh, yeah, but yeah, he's tied with Matthew Stanford total points, 177.4, average 13 to 14 points a game. Pretty impressive. Now, let me give you a little hint on that. Matthew Stanford is the top player that could break a thumb, 5 toes, and have something stuck in the side of his leg, and he'll still try to play half the game. So then he doesn't play at 100% performance. He is not your typical quarterback that breaks down and falls out of the game. If he's out of the game, it's severe enough where they actually had to drug his ass up and strap him down in a seat and say you can't play. That's that guy. I mean, he could go out there and his fingers would be bent backwards and touching his elbow, and he'd be like, "I'm throwing the ball." So I'm like, that's why Matthew Stanford's scores are probably not as high as you used to see him because he
But,
plays through injuries, and plus he's aging. He's not getting
well,
younger.
he was a Georgia boy.
Oh yeah, and he's almost got 3,000 passing yards. He's got 2,983. There again, touchdown ratio to the top quarterbacks that have them high scores is almost double. So if you're getting 2,800 yards passing and you got 30 touchdowns passing, you're gonna hence be higher than a guy that has close to 3,000 passing yards and only 17 touchdowns because that's a
Mm.
lot of points in fantasy that you're not leveled up. And then Matthew Stanford does not run the ball. Keep that in mind. He made what was it, 17 attempts and 11 yards. He's not the back in the day he might have been able to move. Nowadays he does not move that well. Probably because half his kneecap done fell off and he's trying to pick it up on the field, put it back on, and keep running. All right, so on that game right there, yep, that was our last NFL game. So with that being said,
Wait, what was your total points scored for it? The Bengals and
that's
Cowboys.
what I'm fixing to give you. Look at this thing here.
I put
Hey,
I put down 46.
I'm going 42. I think they're going projected too high for this team. And most all them points are going to come from the Bengals. Uh, I think they're going to light up that Cowboys defense. Well, I don't know. Parsons been really good. Like he's come back. He's playing pretty healthy right now, right? Or am I? Let me make
Yeah,
sure
he's
he's.
pretty healthy.
Yeah. So, ooh, I might. Oh, God, I don't know about that point now. I might not. It might be. Yeah, we'll just see. I'm gonna still stick with it. I think at the end of the day, Bengals are gonna win it. All right, I almost grabbed the wrong thing. I was gonna grab my controller, but what I was doing is grabbing my other app because we got to go to the great thing of college fiasco. So I'm gonna make some things brief, and then some things I'm gonna sob about, and other things I'm just not gonna mention. I think that's the best way to do it, right?
Yep.
All right. So I got to bring our app up because they pick our 10 games. This is playoff season. So what a wild football season for college. We finally played our last season game. Let me get to it. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I'm slow as the molasses. Okay, so week 14 is ended. That was the last season game. Now, week 15 is going into the conference championships. Wow, what a lot of things unfolded. So I predicted Boise State would be in the Mountain West Conference champion, which they are. They're playing against UNLV, and I believe that's who we had predicted to play. We also had Tulane predicted to play against Army. That that was straight up. Um, Army did very well. That is a. I don't care how the season ended. That is awesome. And then the interesting thing is something was pointed out to me, and I didn't even catch that. But in that conference, if Tulane would have had lost to Navy, Navy would have been in that conference champion instead of Tulane. And that would have been great because then you would have got 2 games of Army and Navy back to back, just battling it out. Go Army. Yes, I'm an Army guy. I'm sorry, Dad. I know you're Navy, but remember, I was Army. Army all the way. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, Army against Tulane. I think out of them games, Is our pick going to let us pick? I don't even know. I didn't even look. Let me see if it's on our.
No, it won't.
Oh, it doesn't have the games for that. Oh,
Uh-uh.
we'll just.
But they do have a section. This will be when bowl season starts, but they do have a section of where we can pick the winners of all the bowl games. I'm like, it's called the Capital One Capital Bowl Mania or whatever.
Oh, really? All
Yeah,
right.
I've already done joined the group and everything for us.
Oh, okay. So I'll
So
have to
you
hop.
yeah, you can just hop on. It's just the same way as we did all year.
Gotcha. So I'll have to look that up after this and pull it up. I was trying to pull my app up, but it's not working right. I see I won in my
Yeah,
ESPN.
it ended at week 14. So
Yep, yep, I see that now. So let's see my
so
overall record for the season for college. I was horrible. I wasn't a 500 guy, definitely. 78 to 60. God, that's a lot of games picking, ain't it? Ooh,
I went 75 and 64.
all right, did a little bit better than me. Gotcha. All right, so let's do this here. All right, I believe Boise State's going to win against UNLV, hands down. I think Boise State got this. Um, Tulane and Army is going to be a good game. And I honestly think Army was kind of falling off and teetering a little bit. I think that's what's going to get them. I think they had struggles with the quarterback last game. I think Tulane will end up winning. The next game is a tough game. Arizona State against Iowa State. This is like one of these games I don't even know how to predict, but I am going to lean towards Arizona State. I think they played a better ball game. I think they're going to handle their business. They're going to beat Iowa State. They're going to get into the playoffs because they're going to be a conference champion, highest ranked conference champion. Five of them have to get in. There's your next highest ranked conference champion. Even though they ain't in the top 12, they're going to get in. Um, Texas and Georgia. Oh, here, let me let you pick. What are you going to pick for Army and Tulane? I'm sorry, I'm sitting there going on. I apologize. I didn't even let you pick the Boise State. Do you agree with me on the Boise State?
Yeah, Boise State's gonna win it.
Okay, us move on to the Tulane and Army. What do you think about them?
This is a very interesting one, but I'm kind of leaning towards Army.
Oh, I love it that you are. Thank you. I should be a little bit more braver than you. Uh, I don't know why I'm afraid to lean toward. It would be nice to see Army win it. I would be happy for them. I mean, I guess I should be. If I'm an Army fan, I should just stick with the Army and not
You
sit there.
should.
I'm gonna go with Army too. I'm gonna follow your footsteps, Austin. Thank you for setting me straight, pulling me into the narrow path here.
That's okay.
And these are Friday games, so this starts Friday. Ooh. And then rolling into Saturday, you got Iowa State and Arizona State. Who do you think? You know who I just said. And I'm not going to change my mind no matter how you convince me on this. You can throw all the magic at me. Oh, here
I'm
we go.
going. I'm going Arizona State.
All right. Now we're caught back up. I got carried away and left you in the dark. Now we're back together. Uh, SEC championship. It's a watch, the must watch TV. The last time these two guys met, they met in Texas. Georgia shook and rattled them. Now, Georgia's had its up and downs. For whatever reasons, they've battled through their little demons and they've made that out on several cases and pulled it through. Texas has only struggled one time, and that was against the mighty Georgia. And I'm not saying they're mightier than Texas. I just think that they have this demeanor to them when they show up at a place. It's like we're either going to get our ass kicked or they're going to hug us. And it's most likely going to get our ass kicked. Uh, so they're going to be in Atlanta, which is not a very good place for Kirby Smart. Does not have a very good record at Atlanta, which is because most of the time he's having to play Alabama. He never had a very good record against Alabama, but he has played other teams in Atlanta and struggled. So I, we know it's going to be in Atlanta, but then I mean, I Texas has been on a good roll. They've been looking really good, and they've been holding their own. And I don't think they're going to go in there. It's hard to beat a team twice. It really is. I honestly think Texas is going to do their business and win
Yeah, I went with Texas.
it. Okay. Now, this is a matchup I did not predict because that's me. Uh, but it happened. And at the end of the day, these teams have not met up. One has no loss, but beat the team that gave the other team a loss, which does not matter in football at all nowadays because you could beat one team and lose to the other team and get whomped by the next team. So it doesn't matter who you lose to or who you win against. Just you got to come and play that day. This will be in Indianapolis. Penn State has had a very successful record at going to the Big Ten championship. But the catch 22 to this is, well, actually, Penn State has a pretty good record in a lot of the bowl games against the old pack. I don't know. Oregon looks pretty good, but I am going to lean on a tough team like Penn State to pull it through. And I think James Franklin will get his opportunity to win another Big Ten championship.
I'm gonna have to go with Oregon on this one.
Hey, so we have one we disagree with. So the next one is another battle. It's an in or out deal. Now, the question is everybody has the question: if SMU loses, do they still get in? We won't know until the committee gets a hold of it. They do have them ranked 8. There's a possibility they'll drop them out, but there's also that possibility they could be that last tier team in too. Um, it depends on how bad the game goes. I think a lot of it is determined on that. But this is Clemson's shot to get back in the playoffs because Miami blew it when they tried to play Syracuse this last week. So it's Clemson against SMU. Whoever wins this is in playoff. It's conference champion. I am going to go ahead and say, I'm sorry, I've watched enough SMU ball to know that SMU is going to handle Clemson just fine.
Yeah, I went with SMU.
It's the only team SMU lost to. Yes, I know it's not the greatest Big 12 team, but it was a good Big 12 team. But it's the only game they lost, and that is to BYU. I mean, no one in the ACC has come close to beating these guys. There was a couple close games, but most of the time SMU was just dominant. So, I mean, I just looking at Clemson struggle with the ACC. SMU didn't.
Hmm.
It just tells me a different story. In the last game I watched SMU in, they looked pretty good still. I mean, they were pretty hot. They didn't look like they were teetering off. Now, do I think they're going to run into playoffs? I honestly think they'll be eliminated in the first round. But that's just my opinion. That goes to our predictor. So there's a predictor on here. I got it now. It's got
You had it?
Arizona. Yeah. So Arizona playing at Penn State,
Yep.
Tennessee playing at Ohio State,
Yep.
Alabama at Notre Dame,
Mm-hmm.
and Georgia at Indiana. Wow, what a
Yeah.
matchup right there.
Right.
And they're gonna actually put Boise State as a higher ranked conference champion
Yeah.
over the Big 12. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah, because Boise State, the only team they lost to up to this point would be Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I couldn't argue that. But they were now when they played Oregon, they got beat by at least 20 some points. It wasn't like they had even a close game or they were in it. So I mean, I'm not saying they can't survive. I just don't see this a non-power 5 team. I just don't see it. I mean, we
I would like to
Cincinnati
see
had a
it.
stronger schedule than Boise, and they went to the playoffs. And look at what happened to them.
Yeah, well,
I'm just saying.
I
Uh,
mean, Boise State's a lot different than Cincinnati was.
I disagree. Uh,
Agree
so
to disagree.
yep, agree to disagree. So the winner of that one would be Penn State or Arizona State would go against Boise State. Now, if Arizona State goes, I think Boise State had a chance, but I don't think Arizona State would get over Penn State. It'd be interesting to watch the Ohio State Tennessee game. I would love that, but I was more seeing Ohio State because they got Ohio State 6 right now. So, but that could change a little bit when the next rankings come out, and that would have had them going against Alabama. So I've seen a lot of people projecting Ohio State against Alabama. So I mean, this one here I hadn't seen actually. I seen one earlier that was similar, but it was kind of swapped around a little bit. Uh, It did have Texas as the winner, as what we projected conference. It did also have most of them have SMU. Um, yeah, so this will be interesting, man. Next week's gonna be exciting. Then you're gonna have that little break, which I don't know. That ain't really a break, is it? Because like these games right here, first round. When
It's
are they?
not really a break.
Well,
If it is, it's just like a week, maybe
when does the first round start?
the 20th.
Yeah, so after this weekend, you have the military guys play, and then they'll play.
Yeah,
Wow, and they're home games. So right now, you got snow in Ohio, the horseshoe. You have snow in Penn State. You have snow in Notre Dame. None of these are indoor stadiums. Indiana, not an indoor stadium.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know. Indiana, is it indoor?
It's not.
No, I didn't think it was. I think there's snow all up in them areas. So, boy, the only team that's going to be acclimated to that is Tennessee. They used to it,
Yeah.
so they're not gonna be like sweating it too much. Like, well, we played like this before. It's okay. Uh, yeah. So it'd be, and then that's an interesting matchup because whoever wins out of the Ohio State Tennessee game will go to Oregon. Alabama Notre Dame would go to SMU. Now Alabama needs to be on the ropes. You got to remember Notre Dame beat the tar out of Texas A&M. It wasn't a close game, so we'll see how that plays out.
Hmm.
They've already beat an SEC team that was ranked in the SEC as a pretty good SEC team. You know, they didn't make it. They didn't make it till the end. It's like they're in the top four. So you can't take that away from Notre Dame. Even though they did lose to a non-power five school, Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. So it doesn't matter. I mean, that's about equivalent to Northern Illinois. I mean, interesting.
Hmm.
Oh man, I can't believe that football has done already passed us this quick, and we're already here. We're already talking about who's going in the playoffs. Then we're talking about fantasy, like the end of the season, who's going to go into playoffs. I mean, so next week is just like the last good week of like throwdown. So after that, what me and Austin will be covering would be helping out them guys in best ball leagues, weekly redraft leagues, some dynasty leagues that are still continuing, which very few would be. It would be more in playoff scenarios. We'll be helping them playoff teams and how to build your team up and try to win the playoff, right?
Yeah.
So definitely interesting. Guys, if you like the content, please hit the like button. Uh, also subscribe. I know we got a little distraughted in the beginning, but we all got on the same page again and realized what we were talking about. I was just very impressed with this week's IDP players. I think this is probably the best. Last week was probably the best week for IDP players. See that many in the top 10 for the week scoring was impressive. I always liked ID ever since I was introduced to ID players. I've kind of liked playing defense and offense. And I think more and more people when they start playing fantasy, and they start letting go of the old traditional offensive drafts, and they start getting these defensive players, they're going to see it's a lot more fun. It is. It is a lot more fun. I would like to do a redraft team with defensive players. Kind of get the feel of that. That would be fun. All right, you got anything else to say?
Make sure you share because sharing is caring.
That's right.